Greetings, guys, gals, non-binary pals, and welcome back to another episode of Dear Kiwi, the series that I do where I give you a prompt and you send me your stories. And a few weeks ago, we talked about some of your toxic parents, and I asked you to send me stories of some of your toxic bosses, just like bad authority figures at the workplace. And I got quite a lot of submissions. And so I've gone through what I could and have compiled some of the best, worst ones for us to go through today and just have a bit of a cry at capitalism and bosses being trash, because it happens far too often. But before we do get into that, I want to tell you the prompt for the next one. But I'm going to give two prompts this time because I'd like to do them a little bit more regularly than I have been, because I really enjoy doing them. I don't know how much you enjoy watching them, but you know, I like making them, so I'm going to keep doing it. And the two prompts I'm going to give this time are, please send me stories of some like parasocial relationships and like fandom friendships that you have. Like, I want to know your fandom stories, your parasocial relationships, because I don't know how many people care about that, but I deeply care about that and I want to hear your stories and talk about them. So send me your fandom parasocial relationship stories, good or bad, whatever. And also, on a similar note, just toxic friendships. I want to hear your stories of just like bad friends that you have had or that you do have. Just shitty things your friends have done. Because it's fun to just get off your chest sometimes and have these conversations. So please send me stories of parasocial relationships, fandom culture, etc. and toxic friends to dearqiwi@gmail.com. That is kiwi with a Q. And put in the subject line or like the top line of the email which one of these it is for. So now that we have that out of the way, I would like to say thank you to today's patron of the day, Maddie. I appreciate your support. And I hope that you enjoy this video. And if anyone else would like to become a patron, go to patreon.com/savvycat, click the link in the description. And yeah, let's get into the video. I was hired to be a receptionist for a local pet grooming company that was family owned. I had about 3 days of training before I was completely left alone to run and manage their 4 separate locations. It was 12-hour shifts 4 times a week, but I was often working 5+ days a week. I was called in on my off days constantly because my manager had an emergency, found out one of the days she forgot she had a nail appointment, and that was the emergency. I had no lunch break. The 4 locations all had separate booking systems. The manager was the daughter of the owners, who were also both groomers. They all watched me on security cameras and would individually harass me via text all day. I quit on the spot one day after less than 3 months. 3 years ago, and they have gone through 7 receptionists since. Of the 10 employees that were there when I was hired, only 2 are left, excluding the family. It was literally the worst experience of my life. I cried myself to sleep every night when I was working there. God, that sounds horrible. Oh my God. The amount of weight put on your shoulders is unreal. And then the hypocrisy too of being like, them taking so much time off and like having days off for emergency nail appointments, but then making you come in on your days off. Just like the power imbalance and the power hunger some people feel of just needing to be more important than the people who are below them is unreal. Them prioritizing their time and thinking that their time is more valuable than yours. It boils my blood. Oh, it boils my blood. Calling you in on an emergency to get a nail appointment is so fucked up. That's so upsetting. I'm so fucking sorry. And having to manage 4 shops, and you'd only been there like a little while. Like 3 months isn't long to work at a place, and you had to do that pretty much from the get-go. That's ridiculous. That's so ridiculous. And no lunch breaks too. That's illegal. No? Surely that's illegal. 12+ hours and you didn't get a break? Surely there's something you can do about that. I don't really know how it works, but I know, at least in New Zealand, and I'm pretty sure here, that you can't do that. You are legally owed at least an hour break every 4 hours or something. I don't know, but no lunch break. And then I say that, but like, what can you fucking do? They don't care. Most people don't care. Oh, it's fucked. I'm glad that you quit. And I'm glad seemingly everyone else also quits. And I hope that you found a new job quickly and that you enjoy this one and aren't being run into the ground and treated like dirt. So I worked as a housekeeper around 2 years ago now, and I told them when I started I needed a few accommodations because I have autism and multiple different chronic illnesses, and they agreed to give me said accommodations. Well, all of them did except this one supervisor. To tell you how she acted with people, she made a group of people cry and quit on their first day working. Holy shit. Most of these people were a lot older than me since I myself am a young adult in my 20s. Well, I thought nothing of what I was told until she started ridiculing and yelling at me for the smallest things. Like say she found one speck of dirt on the bathroom floor, or I took 1 minute longer than my time I was supposed to take in each room. Plus, not even my main manager would stand up to her, and he was in a higher position. One day I fainted and threw up at work, and I contacted the supervisor who only cared about if I had done it in a room or not and still wanted me to finish the room, refusing to even give me a hand with it, which obviously I didn't complain. I needed the money, so I just went about my day. Drove my body and mental health in the ground because of this horrible supervisor. One day she came in and yelled at me for not doing what she told me to when she had asked me passively to do it and not directly, so I did not pick up on it. This was a big pattern in things that happened with her. So then I had to ask her what she meant, and she yelled louder at me. So I calmly just told her, yet again, that I cannot pick up on social cues and that she needed to be direct with me. She whined and seemed so pissed at me, stating, "So why don't you just learn social cues?" Me just staring at her and deciding to leave the room. Her son is autistic. I really hope him the best in the future. Let's just say I spiraled and quit that job not long after that. Fucking hell. Oh my god. Some people are just so power crazy, and it's so scary, honestly. Like, imagine someone under your care or your supervision or whatever, like fainting and throwing up, and you just tell them to get back up and get on with it as long as they finish the job. Like, that's unreal to me. I cannot imagine treating another person like that. Sometimes shit just fucking happens, and if you're going to faint and throw up, you should be cared for, and like the job should be secondary to that. And I know that that's not how it works all the time. Like fucking today the Prime Minister said that GP notes are no longer going to be valid because people just need to work when they're sick and get over it. Like, people don't give a fuck. They just want you to work yourself to death. That's really the main goal of life at this point, right? Is work and never ever stop, regardless of any circumstances. And it's so fucked up. I cannot imagine viewing a person as nothing more than something to like achieve a task and make money. Like, looking at a person and just seeing someone you can yell at and tell them what to do is like beyond me. And like, I truly just don't get this mindset at all, regardless, right? Like, even from a capitalistic point of view, even from a productive point of view, I think that working while you're sick is just ultimately less productive. It's going to take you longer to finish that task than it would if you were well. You know what I mean? And I know that being a housekeeper, you can't like go home and finish later, but she should have at the very least given you a hand if she wasn't doing anything else, or given you extra time to do it, or like support at the very least. Like, you need to rest when you're feeling like that. Not allowing you to is so fucked up. It's so distressing. And then the final part of like telling you to just learn social cues. Like, oh wow, can't believe I didn't think of that. Thank you. Now I magically know social cues. Thank you for your help. I'd never considered doing that. And having a son that's autistic, so knowing that he probably hears the same shit from her is, some people just shouldn't really have kids in general. Like, if this is how she acts in a position of authority, I don't think she should have kids. Like, she just lacks compassion and clearly lacks understanding of people with autism, which her son has, and that's concerning. And I'm so sorry you had to put up with her for at least a little while, because it just does not sound like a good time. So, I used to work for a store called Christmas Tree Shops. The place was mostly a knick-knack furniture shop dumping ground for its bigger parent company, Bed Bath & Beyond. I did the janitorial stuff. I had to get the garbage chute and was being blocked by several very large bales of cardboard and the rollers that were used to help take stuff off the truck. Not to mention, this was also blocking the fire exit, a huge safety violation. I figured, no problem, I'll move all of this and continue my job. I continue working when my boss, Jim, comes up to me and asks demandingly, "Who told you to move the bales?" I say, "No one. I moved them myself." He then proceeds to say things like, "That was a stupid decision. Don't ever make stupid decisions like that ever again. That was a stupid mistake. You're stupid for doing that." Was he planning on burning the building down and keeping you all trapped inside? What do you mean it was a stupid decision to move things from the fire exit? Hello? That's a really concerning thing to say, actually. You used your initiative to do something that definitely needed to be done. How is he calling you stupid multiple times for doing something that has to be done? Unless he was planning on setting the building on fire and keeping you all trapped in there. I can't think of a reason why he would be mad about that. Anyway, carrying on. Now, I hated Jim. Everyone hated him. Everyone walked on eggshells around this guy. He yelled at employees, threw products at us, let product get destroyed, violated so many health and safety codes. Clearly. At one point, he gave us candy that was clearly eaten by rats. I wanted to get back at him. He shouldn't treat any employee that way. I genuinely am now concerned he did intend on setting the building on fire with you all in there. After he gave you all candy that was eaten by rats? Yeah, I'm genuinely very concerned about this man and his motives and intentions. After work, I called HR and told them everything. I even started crying as I told them what he told me. I did play it up a little, yet at the time, I was genuinely hurt by his words. I was doing my fucking job and making the place safer, and I got yelled at for it. Jim's boss and I had a meeting, and I told him everything, including what other employees have told me. I knew Jim knew it was me who ratted him to HR, since he kept pointing out safety violations whenever I did anything. Annoying, but I had a shit-eating grin internally. Jim's boss told me if he makes one more mistake to give him a call on his personal number, and he will make sure Jim never does that again. I didn't need to. Jim got fired the Monday before Thanksgiving. I left that job later, and eventually the company shut down. Fuck you, Jim. I love the fuck you, Jim at the end. Exactly. I want to know what he did to get fired. What was the final thing? What was the straw that broke the camel's back that made him get fired? I'm intrigued. I'm curious to know what it was, because he seemed to do and say a lot of shit that he definitely shouldn't have done. I am scared of Jim. I'm scared of this man. I don't know much about him other than what was said in this email, and he is not a guy I want to be around. Ever. I'm glad he got fired, and I'm glad that you left, and I hope that everyone is okay and no one ate secondhand rat candy, because that's a terrifying, horrible thing. What a fucking power trip on that guy, man. Just laughing at your misfortune and just being a dick and finding it funny, and then pointing out health code violations and being like, you better fix that, as though that wasn't literally the reason you went to HR in the first place. Your internal shit-eating grin, so valid. I love going and complaining this guy doesn't follow any health codes, and then he comes back and he's like, hey, fix that. That's a health code violation. It's yeah, thank you for noticing. That is what I wanted you to do. Thinking he'd won that is so funny. No, Jim. No, this is you losing. This one's titled, My Boss Fired Me and Then Tried to Hit on Me, which is always fun. Thought I'd tell you about my experience in my first ever full-time position. I, female 17, got my first full-time job working as a barista in one of my local cafes. Side note, I'd previously gone through CBT for depression and anxiety, and my therapist told me that it was a good idea to let my future employers know, just in case I ever needed to ask for any workplace accommodations. At this time, I was still in my 3-month probationary period. I was struggling a bit going straight to a 50-hour week. Oof. 50-hour week? That's a long week. Oh my god. Anyway, that's so fair to struggle with. That's so many hours. I was struggling a bit going straight into a 50-hour-a-week job straight after college, and my medication had been increased to help with that. I let my boss, male 58, know about this just in case of any noticeable behavior changes or dissociative daydreaming episodes while my body readjusted to the increase in hormones. Things had gone fine in my eyes. I got along really well with all of the other staff, the customers liked me, and I never had any customers or co-workers complain during my probationary period. It came to a week before my probationary period ended, and he asked to have a meeting with me after work. My younger sister had to wait out back. I got her a position doing some voluntary work as it was a requirement for her college, but she could hear everything, which was kind of embarrassing. My boss fired me that day on the grounds that because I have depression, I wouldn't be able to cope in the hospitality industry, and it's too risky to keep me on this team in case I call in sick in the future due to mental health. I'd like to preface this by saying I hadn't called in sick once during this 3-month period, and in fact had taken over shifts from others who called in sick and hadn't even said a word about this habit of having the whole team come in first thing and only then decide he didn't need that many people. He'd then proceed to send one of us home with no pay that day. This is hit after hit, isn't it? This was highly discriminatory, but because it was a probationary period, my boss was able to get away with it because you don't need to give any formal reason for firing someone until they're past that period. Anyway, fast forward about another 3 to 4 months and I was out at the local pub celebrating New Year's. I'd just turned 18 a month prior, with one of my old co-workers from that cafe, and he'd happened to show up with his wife. He avoids me at first, which I was pleased about. However, as the night goes on and he has a bit more to drink and his wife is sloppy drunk laying her head on their table in the corner, he approaches me at the bar and tries to joke around with me. I wasn't really reciprocating and was waiting for my out to leave when he proceeded to tell me, you know, we don't work together anymore, so it wouldn't be inappropriate if anything happened between us now. It took everything in me not to physically gag. I just looked at him at that moment, this bald 5'2" man who had ruined my first introduction into the world of full-time work, and told him, "You're old enough to be my grandfather," before getting up off my seat and walking away with my friend. His face dropped and he went back to his wife, who was still hammered in the corner, and didn't ever speak to me again, which I am more than pleased about. Oh my god. So many things. Firstly, the probationary period is such like a shady thing. You didn't mention it here, but a lot of the time they get to pay you less during that too, right? Like it's like a training period so they can pay you less. And so it wouldn't surprise me if they ran this cycle like a couple times before finding someone to fill the spot, because that means they can get away with paying someone less for like a long period of time, so they're saving money, and then they just come up with reasons to get rid of you at the end of the 3 months. And in this case, it happened to be your mental health, despite that literally not making an impact on you at all. It was just because they needed to get rid of you so they could hire someone else for a probationary period, which is so fucked up. It's so fucked up. And that's why I don't think you should be able to pay people less during that period. It should just still be full pay, in my opinion. Or at least the probationary period shouldn't be 3 months. That's so long. That's such a long trial period to run. That's insane. That is such a long trial period to run. That's a quarter of a year. I think as a barista too, like 3 months is a little bit absurd. And his habit of bringing people in and then deciding it wasn't busy enough and sending people home before you even start and then not paying you for that, that makes me so mad. Like makes me so mad because you still had to make your way there, pay for your transport, whatever, and then spend time there. Like I am a firm believer that we should be paid for the time it takes to get to work. Like that should count as part of your workday. I don't care. Like your commute should count as your hours. And also your like parking or your train ticket or whatever the fuck, that should also be covered. Like you shouldn't have to pay for that yourself. Like some people have to pay what, like $20 a day just to park to work. And for some people that's like an hour or two of work just to like park there. That's absurd. That's like actually ridiculous. That should be paid for. You should get free parking or free transport to and from work, and you should also be paid from the minute you leave the house to get there. And so the fact that you had to like commute to work and then spend however long there just to be sent home and not be paid for that time, that makes me so mad. You shouldn't be allowed to do that. Make the call ahead of time and let people know before everyone shows up there. Everything about this, so fucked. And then not only hitting on you at the bar, but also doing it while his wife is drunk in the corner. Like coming into a bar with your wife, getting fucking smashed, and then going up to an 18-year-old and being like, we don't work together anymore, so like we could date. Like, impressed that you didn't gag. It would have been completely valid if you had thrown up on his shoes. Men are gross, you know? Just gross. This one is titled Accidental Sugar Daddy Manager. And it's a completely different vibe to all the others, but I think definitely worth the share. So this happened about 6-ish years ago when I got an interview at a small company that had maybe 5 employees. However, I didn't know that until I started and realized I was the only person there with the owner 85% of the time. The owner, an older man, who hired me as a receptionist, started teaching me accounting for me to do that as well. Keep in mind, I was maybe 19 and had 0 accounting experience. This man started off being nice and helpful. Then when he found mistakes made by the previous lady doing the accounting work, he would get mad at me and yell at me. Usually the day after he got mad at me, or if it was in the morning, he would offer to get me lunch. The first time I said sure. He decided to take me out to a restaurant for lunch, and this ended up happening a few times. After working for him for maybe a week, I had to go with him to a business meeting in my city's downtown core. When we finished the meeting, he asked if I wanted to go shopping. I said no, I don't have any money for that. Haha. He said, oh, it's okay, we can go walk around since the mall is just around the corner. So I agreed as we drove there together and I didn't own a vehicle. When we were in the mall, I picked up a pink Kate Spade purse to look at and then put it down. He asked if I liked it and I said yes, so he told me to get it. I said no, it was too expensive and told him the price, close to 300 Canadian dollars. He gave me his credit card and the purse and told me to get it. I said no repeatedly and that I didn't need it, but he took it up to the register and bought it for me anyway. I was very thankful. Then he took me into a shoe store and told me to pick out a pair of shoes. So I did. And when I went to try them on, he wanted to do the Cinderella thing where he puts the shoe on my foot for me. It was weird as fuck. But he got those for me too. A different day, I told him I was going camping on the weekend and was planning on going grocery shopping and to the liquor store after work. He ended up taking me and buying me everything on my grocery and liquor list, plus extra. Another day, he was looking up how much insurance would be for a used vehicle that he was planning on buying for me because it was unsafe to bus to work. It was one bus that stopped outside my house and dropped me off almost in front of the building, and the ride lasted maybe 15 minutes. He also gave me multiple raises in the short amount of time I was there. I never did anything to get any of this. I was kind of mean to him most of the time I was there. Although, he did try to take pictures of my feet when I wore open-toed or strappy shoes. This all happened in the span of a month before I got sick of him getting mad at me for someone else's mistakes, quit on the spot, demanded my last paycheck, and walked out. I still think the whole thing was weird, but I also find it funny. That is the best way to put it, I think. Weird, but kind of funny. That's like quite an absurd story, actually. I am like, considering there were only like 5 people there and he was like, gave you work that didn't really make sense for you, it almost feels like he hires people specifically to act as sugar babies and then just gives them work. Like, I just think that makes sense to me, is that he is like, just likes having sugar babies, so he hires young women to do this for, because what? Like, I would feel so uncomfortable. Like, I can imagine being so uncomfortable, but also not turning it down either. You know what I mean? Like, if your boss is like, can I put this shoe on you? I would be like, I mean, I don't feel very comfortable. But then because of that, like, I'm 19, he's 54, and he's my boss, I'd be like, I guess? I have a problem. Like, it's hard to say no to authority figures sometimes, right? That's the whole problem with big age gaps like that. Especially when they're like your boss and you don't know the repercussions of such. But then buying the shoes for you, it would be so weird. Like, that's such a weird dynamic. And then him looking at buying you a car too. Like, what do you do with that? How do you respond to that? What are you meant to do in these situations? And taking photos of your feet is it's weird, but also they're like just feet and who cares? I don't know. It's fucking weird. It's so weird. Quitting after a month is so valid though. Like, as like great as it is to get like a purse and shoes and groceries and potentially a car and a bunch of pay raises, it would be such a weird environment. Like, you'd never feel fully comfortable because there's a weird power dynamic and just overall just a strange sort of thing that, like, what do you do with that? Thank you for sharing, because I am astounded by this one. That's so So odd. I'm curious to know what this company was though. Like, you didn't say, and that's totally valid, but I am curious to know what the company was and why he was like this and how much you got paid too. Many questions. Many questions. Hello, I've had 2 bosses in my life and they were both aggressively bad, but one has funnier stories. For context, I was working at a retail pet store. Another pet-themed one. Fascinating. The first month, I was paid under minimum wage, which was already only $7.25. I cannot believe that minimum wage in the States is $7.25. Like, that's actually absurd to me. Like, that's so ridiculous to me that it's $7.25 minimum wage. I will never ever get over that. And any employer who pays minimum wage, bad boss already straight off the bat. And that's like so many jobs that like young people get, like retail and like hospitality and whatever, like $7.25 an hour. Come on. Anyone can afford more than that. Literally anyone can afford more than that. I was paid under minimum wage during the holiday season, so she was raking it in. Yeah, exactly. For lots of little inappropriate things, she constantly called and texted me when I wasn't working. None of these were time sensitive. Once was to yell at me that all the dog food can labels weren't facing forward when I left the night before. We were not allowed to call out sick. She told me it wasn't appropriate to say that I slept well last night, but she would tell us about her boob job and her ex-husband's porn addiction. I once tried to take off one shift and got the manager to cover for me because a very close friend of mine was in hospital with 3rd-degree burns. She called me at 8 a.m. on Sunday to scream at me and made me come in for the rest of the shift. Then she called me the next day to complain that my work wasn't up to par. At one point, she also screamed at my manager so loudly on the phone, "I fucking hate you," that the customer and I upstairs could hear every word she said. Now the good stuff. Oh, we haven't even gotten to the good stuff yet. Great. She told a merchandise rep that she vandalized a competitor's store down the street, and that rep went to that same store. A black man walked into the store when she was there alone, and she was so terrified that she ran out of the store screaming. He was literally just browsing. And the classic, lied about all cash sales to the government. She was also getting sued by the person she bought the store from because she stopped paying and somehow thought she was still in the right. Also, apparently the place was operating without a business license, which the city came and had a fit about, and no, she had no clue she didn't have one after being there for a few years. I only worked for her for like 3 months and I had had enough. She still owes me $500, but she knew where I lived at the time, and to be honest, she was kind of scary, so not worth it. Oh my god, this is an absolute mess. Holy shit. We go back to like, some people are just power crazy. This woman buying a pet shop and then not paying the mortgage and thinking that she was in the right and not having a business license either. How do you not know you don't have a business license? Did she think it came with the store? Like, what happened here? How did she manage to not have a business license and think she didn't have to pay the mortgage on the shop that she bought? Vandalizing a competitor's store, yelling at you for like trying to call in sick and not letting you have days off to look after your friend or look after yourself, and like calling you on your off day because the dog food can labels weren't facing out. Like, everything she did there screams just main character syndrome, you know? And then obviously she's also racist on top of that. Like, like she just seems to think the world revolves around her entirely. She doesn't give a fuck about anyone else, especially not the people who are beneath her, like people that work under her. You don't matter. You just come and you work for her and you do whatever she says and you get yelled at and you aren't allowed to take anything for yourself or talk about yourselves or have personal lives. You're only allowed to care about her and do what she says, and she'll pay you when she feels like it. Also, owing you $500. Hold up. I need to do some maths. Where's my fucking phone? So owing you $500 is 69 hours worth of minimum wage work. And if that's $500 like after tax, that's even more work. And like 70 hours work, especially when you were only there for 3 months, is like half the time you were fucking there. I don't know how many days you worked or how long your hours were, but if you were working full time, that's almost 2 full weeks without pay, which is like 20% of the entire time you were there. My god, that's ridiculous. I am so sorry that this happened. Holy shit. What an actual nightmare. Like an actual fucking nightmare. This woman. And does she still have the shop? Like, I hope she was shut down. Because, like, the lack of, like, compassion and understanding and just, like, ability to be a person in charge of anything is quite terrifying. Yeah, fair enough. Like, it's horrible that you didn't ask for your money, and I'm so sorry about that. But, like, if you're concerned about your safety, fair enough. I'm going to do one last one. By the way, I should mention that I did not talk to my coworkers much. I'm naturally really shy, so I very rarely spoke to most of them. Some of them I didn't even speak a word to until the week before I quit. Also, the status of manager was a little all over the place, so I'm going to be referring to multiple people as managers. Firstly, there was one manager who we'll call Amy. She, for whatever reason, seemed to always be annoyed anytime I tried to speak to her. I don't know why, like she didn't treat anyone else like that. But for whatever reason, she just kind of seemed pissed off every time I spoke to her. She also had a habit of asking me to do some unreasonable tasks, such as mopping the floor for the entire front of house in 45 minutes. This meant the entire dining area and both restrooms. Overall, she just seemed kind of mean. Secondly, there was this manager who we'll call Sandy. One time I burned my arm on a hot tray by accident. Like, this pan was scalding. It was just being pulled out of the oven. She responds with, and I kid you not, "Oh, walk it off. You'll be fine." So I just walked it off. No band-aid, no burn cream, no nothing. The burn was still very visible on my arm over a year later. Ridiculous to me. Just walk it off to a burn? To a burn? Not even letting you run it under cold water for like a minute? Like, it's not that difficult or time-consuming to do. And burns hurt. As someone who burns themselves constantly, like I burn myself every other day. If I'm in the kitchen, like, chances are I'm going to get burnt. It's a 50-50 chance. Honestly, I'm more likely to get burnt than I am to not get burnt. And so I know how much it fucking hurts to burn yourself on the oven or whatever. And also how much it helps to just run it under cold water, even for only a minute. You're meant to do 10 minutes, but honestly, who has the fucking time? But walking around with a burn that hasn't been treated in any capacity at all, not even run under cold water, on your arm, oh, that would fucking suck. That would hurt so bad. Oh my God. It doesn't take that long. It's really not that difficult to just let someone treat an injury that has occurred during work. Like, you should care about the health and safety of your workers. And the fact that she told you to walk off a bed, that makes me so mad. That makes my blood boil. Like, that pisses me off so much. I'm so sorry. And the fact that it was like bad enough to leave a scar for like... Thirdly, there was this manager who we'll call Bob. She was sometimes kind of chill, but other times she was awful. This one time I had a lady pull up to the drive-thru who asked for an iced coffee. Specifically, she asked for, I think, like a quarter of the cup worth of cream. Not a problem, right? So I make this lady's drink, and when I give it to her, she says, "That's too much cream. I'm not taking that." Now, I don't know what to do here. I can't uncream the coffee. So I went to pour it in the sink, since none of my managers were nearby, and this lady was getting impatient. I just didn't know what else to do here. As I'm dumping the drink, Bob turns the corner and sees me. She immediately goes off on me, asking, "Why are you just pouring it out?" I tried to explain, but she just kept berating me for it. Eventually, she makes this lady's drink. She saw and heard all of that, by the way, and Bob leaves. One of my coworkers tried to offer his condolences, which was very nice, but I just felt crushed. So much so that as soon as my coworker walked away, I started to cry. And I don't cry very often. I never have. Anyways, that was my awful workplace. I quit in May of 2023 to make time for college preparation. That's ridiculous. It's so funny because, yeah, you can't uncream a coffee. What are you meant to do in that situation if not tip out the coffee? Like, you could put it to one side and then just make a new one, but then is someone gonna drink that? Like, what are you meant to do with that coffee that you made that no one's gonna drink? It's so funny too, because it's like you're pouring out the coffee and she's like, "What are you doing? How dare you?" As though that's losing any money. Like, making a cup of coffee costs nothing. Coffee is so cheap. It's so cheap. To make a cup of coffee, you're using maybe like 50 cents worth of ingredients. Like, it's not an expensive thing to do. The reason coffee costs so much is to pay for like overheads and wages and like profit, not the actual ingredients to make the coffee itself. And since this person's already paid for coffee and you're making them a new one, literally no money was lost. Like, at all. The fact that they act like throwing out food, or like especially things like coffee, is like losing their money is so ridiculous. Like, get over it. No, it isn't. You know it fucking isn't. It's 99% fucking profit. Like, it's not losing any money. Calm down. Yelling at you over that is just like, she just wanted a reason to yell at someone, because like, what are you meant to do? And I so relate to just turning away and just needing to cry, because like, it's just such an overwhelming, like, hopeless sort of feeling when you do everything you can and use your sort of like, you're already confused and don't know what to do, and you use your initiative to come up with like the best solution, and you get like yelled at for it, even though there's literally no other option. Like, that's crushing. That's crushing. Such a valid response. I also would have cried when I was left alone. I'm so sorry you had 3 terrible managers. Like, they all kind of suck. Because the first one as well, I realized I didn't comment on her. Making you do really long jobs in such a short amount of time is like, the expectations that are so unrealistic are so frustrating. And like, you can't say no. You kind of just have to do what they want or face the consequences. And these people just like take advantage of their power and want to get mad at people and watch people struggle because they think it's funny. And I'm so sorry that you had to put up with that. And I'm glad that you left. And I hope that college is treating you well. And that if you have another job, I hope that your managers aren't so shit. Anyway, yeah, this has been your bad bosses. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to send me your submissions for like parasocial relationships, fandom culture, etc. and toxic friendships to dearqiwi@gmail.com, kiwi with a Q. Also, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate it greatly, and I am here twice a week, so I would love to see you again. A massive thank you to my Sprout and Above patrons whose names are up on the screen right now. I appreciate you greatly. And a huge thank you to my Kiwi cat patrons: Bobby, Josh, Mandy, Ikazel, Jessica, Eldo, Danielle, Raven, Elias, Chris, Samuel, and Knitting Menace. I love and appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for joining. If anyone else would like to become a patron, you go to patreon.com/savvycat or click the top link in the description. For as little as £1 a month, you get my videos a day early, as well as podcasts a week early. And then for £3 and up, you get things such as outtakes, bonus mini podcasts, live streams, vlogs, and more. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, @thequeerkiwi, and Twitter, @queerkiwi. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. Keep fighting. I love you. Mwah. When you close your eyes, you